Hello, I'm Michael from Cape Town in South Africa. I made this video because I wanted to share with whoever is interested in my COVID recovery journey. So I've put together a little bit of a timeline, shared those details, what symptoms I had, what I did, and just some other aspects that I thought may be useful and that others may want to consider. I want to just say at the outset that everybody is different in terms of how they respond to the virus, and people may have pre-existing conditions, and therefore it's always the best to get your treatment advice from your medical doctor. I also want to say that my heart goes out to all those families that have already lost loved ones to this virus, and to those that are currently really struggling and fighting to work their way through it. So this video is sort of aims at the people that may not currently have the virus, or have just recently learned that they have it, or just those that are curious in terms of what process one could go through. So today, which is the 15th day since I started showing symptoms, and I'm now fully recovered, barring a little bit of lack of energy and still needing to get back into routines and things of daily life, but I would say I'm fully recovered. My symptoms started on the 26th of December, and yeah, lucky we had actually been isolating from the 22nd of December, so 4 days before my symptoms started, because my partner thought that she had the virus and went and got tested. So we waited for the results, which only came through on the 24th, and lucky enough she was negative, but we had remained in isolation, and we continued to remain in isolation even over Christmas Day. We didn't meet up with family, so in fact had been in isolation from the 22nd. It took a little while to go get tested, even though the symptoms started on 26th, because that first day you think, okay, well, is this just a normal sore throat, normal flu? Also, the testing is expensive. It required me to go to a doctor before, so that the cost of the doctor and then the cost of the test, and I thought, well, don't be too hasty, let's just see what happens. So it took me a couple of days to go test it. However, intuitively I had a strong feeling I had it, so I should have gone straight away. So that's the first bit of advice I would say, is don't hesitate to go get tested, rather know, because sometimes people have symptoms just for a couple of days and it goes, but they have the virus. So get tested the moment you start any of those symptoms, which I'll talk a little bit about in a moment. Yeah, so waiting for the results, which were pretty prompt, a day and a half I waited, more or less. Can be a bit stressful in terms of not knowing what the results are going to be like, but as I say, intuitively I knew that I had the virus, but when I got the results via a text message, there was still that initial body sensation response to it, and I saw the message come through, the heartbeat and the sweating, but I took a few breaths and I said, but you sort of knew anyway, so take some time just to absorb it, take a few breaths, and certainly do not start thinking the worst. So got the message. It was quite late at night, so I checked with my girlfriend if she's awake. I was busy trying to do some work at about 10 at night when it came through, and then I said, yeah, it's positive. So that's how it started. And the very next morning got onto email with my doctor, who had emailed me as well to say the results were positive. And I just sort of asked for advice. So what does she say I should take, and how should I best manage it? So I got onto the doctor for that advice, albeit that there's plenty of fairly consistent knowledge around how to go about treating it. But I wanted to get that first-hand professional advice. I also had to disclose to her that I have a history with kidney and bladder issues, and I've had a few surgical procedures there. So I wanted to make sure that anything I take also takes that into account. But albeit that this virus is serious, that the treatment in terms of medication was really just vitamins. And in addition, there was one tablet that she prescribed, which is a blood thinner. So it's an aspirin-based tablet, which you take to thin the blood to prevent any sort of blood clotting. I think it's called Ecotrin. But other than that, it was vitamin. So vitamin B, vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc was the package of medication, and then just a paracetamol for pain if necessary. So that was really what the doc prescribed, and obviously isolation from the outside world, and within the house we also decided that it was best to try our best to keep away from me, everyone keep away from me. We wore masks throughout that time when we were in each other's presence, tried to keep washing and sanitizing our hands in the house, which I think proved to be effective. So and then the daily routine, I had a feeling that I needed to write it out, and the intuition again was telling me, put a daily chart up, put a daily routine, and just stick to it even if it feels like it's unnecessary. Stick to the chart and the details that you come up with. So I did that, and that's another key bit of advice, is come up with a routine and stick with it until you're completely through the other side. And so in addition to those vitamins, my routine was first thing in the morning was warm water straight out the kettle, so sometimes hot or lukewarm, so previously boiled water with lemon, a bit of ginger, and sometimes I add a bit of honey. I'm not a big honey fan, but just for flavor. So, and it was a big glass. So this is the glass. So it's got a little sticker on here so people know my glass. And this glass is about probably close to 600 milliliters. And I drank nothing else except water for these last 15 days. Not tea, coffee, not juices. I got a bit bored of the lemon and ginger taste, so sometimes I added cucumber and mint, but still warm water out of the kettle. So that is how my day started. The vitamins, because there were so many little tablets, I spread it out over the day. I just didn't feel comfortable swallowing a whole bunch all at once in the morning, first thing in the morning. So I took some in the morning and some just after lunch. So that's just something to consider. And yeah, so the other thing that I felt very strongly, I didn't even have to read up about it, but my body just said fruit. I need fruit. And it was already obviously craving certain fruits. So I ate a lot of fruit. I am vegetarian, so it wasn't difficult for me to eat fruit mostly. And obviously I added some proteins to ensure that I had protein, but I ate a lot of fruit, and not because it was recommended, but because I felt that that's what my body needed. I got out into the sun every single day. It's summer here in Cape Town, and in fact we've had some glorious, beautiful days, so it felt really horrible being stuck in the house. Sometimes I love to walk and go down to the beach, but I had to stay in the house. But in our yard, I went and sat out in the sun 20 minutes, half an hour, at least, every single day. Sometimes I really didn't feel like it, but I did it anyway, because again, sticking to the routine. Inside the house, the two older kids understood the need to be separate and always have the mask on, but we have a little 1-year-old, so it was really difficult to keep that distance. So I mean, obviously, you do your best and work with what circumstances you have. The routine continued into the evening in terms of I added, in the morning, after I had my first full glass of warm water, lemon and ginger. I also did a salt water gargle, and I did that twice a day, in the morning and at night before bed. And then in the evening I did an Epsom salts bath. And Epsom salt has got this quality where it draws out toxins and also sort of bad energy out of your body. I've always used it even prior to this, so it's a wonderful thing to have in your house. I've used it when I do counseling, so sometimes I have a counseling client and I felt after the session that I had sort of drawn in all of that person's energy and emotion, and I needed to somehow get myself free of that. Excuse me. So Epsom salts is good for that. I also every night did a meditation, which is also a part of my usual daily routine anyway, but I'll come back to that. Sometimes I used the soaking in the bath as my meditation time, if the meditation was something that you could do lying down. And never missed any of those things. So create a routine, best to write it down and stick to it. So this is, I just want to show you, probably cannot read this, but I wanted to show you that this is my chart and ticking it off. The one thing here that's shows a little bit of a gap is I also did just, I think, 2 or 3 times a steam breathe, where you fill a bucket or the basin with hot water, steaming boiling water. Put a towel over your head and breathe in the steam. I added a bit of eucalyptus into the water. It just helps to clear out the breathing, the airwaves, and loosens up any phlegm and that. So that is something that has been strongly recommended. I'm going to talk to you about what symptoms I had, but that's the routine I had. So just want to check I haven't missed any. Gargle with salt, AM and PM, steam, breathing, outside time, vitamins, the list of the vitamins, pain meds. I hardly took any pain meds. There's like a few spots where I did, but there's also many gaps, so I didn't really take pain meds. Yeah, and then the meditation and the Epsom salt bath. So I'll try and include my routine in the edits of the video. In terms of symptoms, so the first 3 days or so, even from before I got tested, it was really a sore throat, but a very mild one. I've had much worse in terms of sore throat. But I did have headaches like I've never had before, really, really severe headaches. And mild body aches like you would with the flu. No raised temperature, and funny enough, I did not have a raised temperature throughout the whole time. There were many other symptoms that were quite significant, but I did not have a raised temperature. And that's quite interesting, because many of the shops or premises where you need to go in, their primary filter for letting people in is checking your temperature. So I did not have a raised temperature at all. The other thing that I did not have is any shortness of breath. My breathing has been clear and strong throughout, and I want to come back to my thoughts about that. So first 3 days, just strong headaches, mildly sore throat, some level of body ache. The next probably 5 days, the fatigue, the low energy was the main symptom, and it got to a point where like I couldn't take a few steps without having to rest, and the fatigue was intense to the point where I was sort of drifting in and out of consciousness. The days just got blurred, and that's the other reason why I'm so grateful to have done this, because I wouldn't have known what I'd taken, what I hadn't, where I was, what day it was. I really would have struggled. So that exhaustion that was really unusual. I've never felt like that before, and as I say, struggle to remain aware of what I was doing, when I was doing what. I would find myself in the kitchen and think, why am I here? Like, and not even remember getting there. So that was like the next few days was the primary thing. And then on about day 8 or 9, I got this like really intense lower back pain. And on the the information out there, none of these are surprises. So I knew that these were all symptoms, but you don't know to what extent you're going to get them. So the lower back pain was quite significant. They say in the kidney area, um, and I have, as I said, history with kidney and bladder problems, and I've had procedures, so I was a bit worried. So the intake of water, I usually drink a lot of water anyway, but I've really focused on drinking a lot of water. So I drank at least 10 of these every day, if not more. So 6 liters, 6 to 8 liters every day, plus, I would think. And that is like one of the best ways to protect your kidneys. So it's a severe lower back pain, and then in the research I did, it said the virus attacks a nerve and therefore the lower back pain. So I'm thinking something like the sciatica nerve, because I've had sciatica before, and but this pain was a lot more significant. And then on about day 8 or 9, the pain shifted down into the legs, and I had the most bizarre, crazy sensations in my legs, sore, unusual, couldn't really work out what was going on. And sometimes if you have a sciatica issue, it feels similar. It's like a nerve pain is quite a strange sensation, and it felt like it, but like 100 times more intense. It really was intense, and that lasted like a day and a half. And the one night I couldn't sleep. It was about 3:30 in the morning, where I eventually took painkillers, and I think I dozed off. But the pain was that intense that I couldn't sleep. And then just an observation on that. So for me, I like to be aware of what my body's telling me, and what I'm experiencing, and so, it seemed like the symptoms started here, worked down, like when I started getting body aches, down to the back, down to the legs. So it was almost like from head down to toes, the symptoms went. Just as a interesting observation. But yeah, so that one was quite, and I kept saying to myself, look, it is known that you get this like nerve sensation and pain lower back, and I didn't necessarily read about into the legs, but mine went into the legs, and then a day and a half, and then that subsided, and it was after that, so sort of day 10, so about 5 days ago, I started to slowly feel a little bit more energy, and yeah, and then I sort of knew I was past the worst. But one other piece of advice is, like, on that, somewhere around the day 10, I thought, okay, I was feeling really guilty that I hadn't been doing my fair share of the house work, which I usually do. I cook, I clean, I help with the kids, and I hadn't really been able to do that. Even if I wanted to, the energy wasn't there, and plus, obviously, I shouldn't be making contact with stuff, But on about day 10, I thought, no, man, I must sanitize and clean the kitchen, because it was too much work for my girlfriend to do and look after the kids, and that's why I cleaned the kitchen and the dishes and wiped all the surfaces. And so, maybe like an hour and a bit of housework, and I regretted it later. I was absolutely completely finished later. It was, I got a bit worried. I thought, oh, that was stupid, now I'm going to go a bit backwards, just spending a bit of energy. But it was just a bit of a warning sign to say, hey, take it slow. The moment you start feeling better, you almost like want to get back into doing things, but you need to be careful of that and take it slow. Yeah, and I want to come back to the breathing, the meditation. So I'm a yoga instructor, and I've been practicing yoga for 8-9 years, and so I, I, I I feel strongly that a big contributing factor for me not having shortness of breath, or that my lungs were not affected, my lungs stayed clear and strong the whole time. I feel that has a lot to do with my yoga and my breathing exercises that I do as part of a yogic life. Breathing and breath control is integral to that science, and so I feel like that was really helped me physically to be strong, and part of, you know, those 8-9 years ago when I started to change my lifestyle, and then I found yoga because I was changing my lifestyle, and then realized that if I'm going to practice yoga and really make the best use of what it can offer me and get the most out of it, was to change eating habits, and started eating healthier, and eventually became a vegetarian, and likely to move to a vegan. But all of those decisions that I had taken some time ago, I believe strongly helped me get through this virus, and recover to the extent I have. You know, things like smoking, gave up smoking back then, I think more than 10 years ago. And I don't drink alcohol, and this is no judgment for the people that do, but you know, I know what my chest used to feel like when I was a smoker, and I remember the cough I had constantly, and the tightness of the chest when I was a smoker, and I was so grateful that I had you know, stopped that many years ago. So the yoga and the breathing exercise really helped me a lot in terms of meditation. So you know, I have a daily practice of meditation, and the benefit of that was that I was able to remain relatively calm. I set an intention the moment I knew that I had the virus, that I was not going to sit in the virus. I wasn't going to let the virus be the main topic of my conversation and thoughts. And obviously that's difficult, but I set that intention, and I did my best to stick to that. So for my family, who were wanting to know how I was, and they were like scared and worried for me, it was difficult for them, because I said, look, I will let you know if things seem not okay, and but I prefer not to dwell on it and not to talk about it, and for me that worked. So I kept positive. My meditations were all visualizations of me being healthy, me carrying on with my purpose in life beyond this virus. So that was what I visualized. That was what I kept my sights on. I obviously felt what I felt physically, and I wasn't dismissing any of what I experienced. I actually tried to pay attention to what I experienced, so that I could be able to share that after I've got through the other side. So my meditation and my ability to stay calm. When you practice yoga and mindfulness, as I have for so many years, we learn to work through emotions, work through thoughts that are limiting. we deliberately, bring our attention to them in order to process them and hopefully let them go. And the point that I am trying to get across here is that if you have a lot of negativity, a lot of negative thoughts, a lot of emotion that you carry and that you don't process, let go, maybe anger, maybe prejudice, maybe whatever that you carry within you, that in itself is can limit your ability to fight off disease. It can compromise your immunity system, and in fact, holding those grudges, emotions, limiting beliefs in your body can cause illness itself. The stress hormones, if they're there all the time, can do long-term damage and cause illness. So I feel like my practice of being fully aware of what I'm feeling, what I'm experiencing, and working at processing those and letting them go over the years was such a strong asset in terms of my recovery. Having said that, I was fully aware that this virus has even taken down the most healthiest of people, and so I was aware it could turn bad at any time. So I was not naive in that, thinking, oh well, just positive thoughts and I'll be fine. I was aware that could happen, and to the extent I wrote individual letters to my 4 children, ages 25 all the way to 1. 4 children, wrote them individual letters that would be given to them if I didn't make it. And so I was aware of the potential risk, and but when I wrote those letters, even though there was obviously a lot of emotion in the words and writing them, I was completely calm and fully aware of why I was doing it, what I was doing, and it didn't make me feel negative. It didn't take me backwards. I thought it was the right thing to do. So lifestyle, the lifestyle that you lead. I know that vaccines are going to be available or are available in certain places of the world, and I feel like it's to see the vaccine as the silver bullet is perhaps not the right way to see it. I think lifestyle choices is more the silver bullet, and the vaccine is maybe an added precaution. And so to the extent where I took made a choice to live a more simple life, but a healthy one where I was had set an intention to find joy and be happy. That sort of lifestyle, with eating well and exercising and all those things, and being mentally strong as well as physically strong. I feel like that is the way that we can be best equipped to fight any virus, and there's likely to be more of these, so that's just my own personal view and advice and recommendation. Living a simple, healthy, happy life versus maybe a successful, stressful, unhealthy life. There's obviously quite a bit in between that, so it's not just those two extremes, but I feel like lifestyle is the answer, and being healthy and having a daily regular self-care practice that doesn't need to be meditation and yoga. It could be whatever that is: swimming, creative activities where your mind is free from the stresses of life, and you are giving yourself time to repair and to heal from the day and from the conflict and from everything that's going on in the world. So I think that's my message. The virus is real, there's no doubt. I've never felt anything like that before, even though I didn't have the lungs issue and the high temperature. It's definitely not just your average flu. It's real. Be vigilant in your protocols around social distancing, the hands, sanitizing and washing, wearing your mask. And then if you get the symptoms, get tested immediately. Get a routine in place straight away. Stick to that routine, and just be positive. Think positively. Think that your body is going to fight it, and you're going to heal. And I wish you all the very best. And I hope that parts of this was useful for you. Thank you for listening. Take care. Be safe. Bye-bye.